This is like the 5th time that I tried making this video, so I'm just going to do it because I just want to document what's been going on. So my name's Jacqueline, and I have a 7-month-old that I just put down for naps. So if you hear her fussing a little bit, I apologize. So what's been going on is Violet has got her first illness. So she wasn't feeling well about a week ago. And it all happened really fast, to be honest. So she wasn't feeling well. I noticed she was running a fever. She started coughing and sneezing a little bit and sounding congested. And so I kept an eye on her. So within 24 hours, her fever reached 106, which is can be extremely dangerous. So rewind a little bit. So I started noticing she wasn't feeling well, and so I was watching her temp and taking her temperature like every hour, and it was like at 99, and then it got to 100, 101, and then I called the advice nurse. We're Kaiser, we have Kaiser hospitals by us, so I called the advice nurse. She gave me some advice, try to, give her some Tylenol, put a washcloth over her, suction her nose and just all that. So I did all of that, did what I could, and I kept watching Violet. The Tylenol helped for a little bit. It would bring her fever down, but I could just tell that she just wasn't feeling good. Pretty much within 24 hours, her fever just kept going up, and she started to become more lethargic. By the time she was about 102 degrees, I called the advice nurse again, asking if I should bring her in. I just didn't want to bring her to a hospital during the flu season when there's tons of sick people out there, and I just didn't want to expose her if I didn't have to. So the advice nurse suggested that I make an appointment with a doctor, and so the doctor, or her pediatrician, had an availability at like 3:30 or something, and it was like noontime when I had called in. So I took that appointment, got there, and by the time we got there, Violet was really lethargic, and before we left the house, her temp was like at 102 based off of 2 thermometers that we had. We have one that like reads her forehead, and then we also purchased another one that you can take like with her armpit or in her mouth, and so it was around 102 point something. By the time we got there, got called in, you know how they check you in and they kind of take your temperature first and all that. So the nurse there took a temperature of her, and it was like 105 or something. And right then and there, I knew something wasn't right, because she didn't panic, but you could tell in her voice and in her actions, I guess, that she was concerned about Violet. So she's like, I need you to take Violet's clothes off right now. And Violet was just wearing like a really thin like bamboo sleeper. She's like, I need you to take her clothes off right now. We're like standing in the middle of the hallway. And so I took off all of Violet's clothes. And by this time, like I said, she wasn't crying. She was really lethargic. She just wanted to be held. And so we took off all of her clothes, and pretty much the nurse grabbed the chart. She like rushed us to the room. She's like, I need you to take off her clothes, take off her diaper, and I need you to lay her down, and I'm going to go get the nurse and the doctor. And I was like, okay. By then, I felt terrible. I was super worried. Did everything that she said. The nurse came rushing in, and this is like the quickest service, I guess, that we have gotten, because, a lot of times you're like waiting in the room for the nurses and the doctors to come in. A nurse, a RN rushes in, comes in with a couple of different gadgets, starts taping things on Violet's foot, and it's a device that measures like Violet's breathing, and it makes a bunch of noises, and it just brought back like flashbacks of when Violet was in the NICU, of all the beeping and the noises and everything like that. Sorry, Billy's sleeping right now, taking a nap, so if you hear snoring, I'm sorry. Like I said, I've been trying to make this video for a while. So anyways, they put all this stuff on her, monitoring her, and like I just started crying because I just had flashbacks of Violet in the NICU. I knew Violet was running a high temp. I was just really concerned, and I didn't even realize it was that high, because the 2 thermometers that we had at home said that she was like 102, which is high but not dangerous. And by the time we got to the doctor's, which is like maybe 20-30 minutes, it reached 105. And then the nurse kept taking her temp over and over, using like different thermometers that they had, and it kept reading like 105.2, and the highest one was like 10, I think it was like 106.1 or something like that. And she was like, then she called in another nurse to go get, I guess, the anal thermometer, because that is the most accurate, is if they do it that way. So they brought that in, and they took her temp that way, and it read 105 something in the 105s. And by then, the doctor's in here as well, her pediatrician. And so the pediatrician ordered some ibuprofen for her and said that, because I've been giving her Tylenol, and the doctor said ibuprofen oftentimes can work better. And now that Violet is over 6 months old, she can have ibuprofen. So gave her ibuprofen and gave her a popsicle. They gave her a Pedialyte popsicle as well to see if she could get some fluids in her, as well as like cool her down. And the doctor asked if we could just sit and wait about 20-30 minutes to see what happens and if her body reacts to the medication. So in the meantime, the doctor swabbed her for the flu and wanted to test for other, viruses. And of course, I'm freaking out because of the coronavirus that's going on, and not trying to, jump to conclusions or anything like that. But I was just like super stressed out. And so luckily, long story short, Violet's temperature went down after having the popsicle and the ibuprofen. And the doctor gave us two choices. Well, first off, the doctor was like, you need to try to breastfeed her. And if she will drink it, then I have two choices. I can go home and monitor her at home, or we can go to the emergency department and hook her up to IV fluids, because like I said, this is her pediatrician, and she said she was worried about Violet because she was so lethargic. She wasn't kicking, wasn't moving her arms. She was just getting pale and just staring off, and it was the saddest thing, and I was so worried. But luckily, like I said, she perked up a little bit. She did breastfeed a little bit in the doctor's office, and she was able to get some fluids in her along with the Pedialyte popsicle, and then her temperature went down. Her fever went down, I think, to 102, 103 again. And so the doctor said we could go home, monitor her, but if it doesn't get better and it starts to go up again, we need to rush her to the emergency room. So that's what we decided to do. We took her home, and the doctor decided to put her straight on flu medications. So she wasn't sure if Violet had the flu or not, but because the flu medication works the best within a 48-hour period from first symptoms of it. So it works the best during the 48 hours, and then after that, it's not that helpful. And so she sent us home with flu medication, and we started right on it when we got home. And pretty much it was a 5-day dose, and she got better and better as the days went on. But it was a really, really rough few days, and I just kind of wanted to share what had happened. First illness for Violet at 7 months, 7.5, and it was extremely scary, and I beat myself up a little bit just because I probably should have taken her in right when I noticed she wasn't feeling well, but I kind of waited until it was too late. Not too late, but it was way higher than it should be, and we could have gotten help sooner than later. But luckily, she didn't hold that high temp for too long. I believe, it got really high while we were on our way to the doctors. And it's been about a week now, and she's feeling better, but she is not back to her normal self. So she still doesn't have a lot of energy. She is still a little lethargic. Sometimes she gets tired really quickly. She's not eating as much, and she's coughing and sneezing and has a runny nose still. So I actually just reached out to her doctor again to see if I should be concerned or not, because it's like I said, it's been a week and I do want her to feel better and I don't want her to have to go through that again. So sorry, this video got a lot longer than I thought it would, but I just kind of wanted to share what was going on. And yeah, if you have a child that is running a fever, just use your mommy instincts, because honestly, even my husband, he was like, she should be fine. Like, just give her Tylenol and call the advice nurse and we can take her in if you think we should. And like, it's not that he wasn't supportive. It's just like, he doesn't know, we're both first time parents, so we don't know what's best. And oftentimes we don't know and we second guess ourselves and things like that. But don't do it. Don't second guess yourself. You know what's best. You know what's normal for your child. The person on the phone, the advice nurse, they can only give you so much advice without seeing your child, hearing your child, or like knowing how your child is, So anyways, that's my update with Violet. And I will talk to you guys soon.